In this video, I think we're going to cover finishing up this guitar. We need to make a bridge, and I also want to modify the body down here. Notice this is pointed straight down. I think that's very generic and kind of cheap looking. So I kind of mocked up more of this part that's angled, and I think that looks a lot more like a realistic guitar. So we'll adjust this and make a bridge. I'll get started by making a bridge by doing a new part. In our new part context, let's go to the top view here. Right, so we're looking down on the ZX plane, which in Alibre is the top plane. And yeah, let's create a sketch on this plane. I'm going to go with a line. And we want to make this kind of like how we made the bridge, except with slightly smaller dimensions, so that this will fit into the notch that we have made. Right, so we're going to go there to there, and that's about it. We're going to go with vertical and vertical. Oh, that vertical didn't go though, so we'll add in vertical. Perfect. Now, dimension. Let's give this a radius value. The bridge slot that we made was 0.375, so let's just take 10 thou off of that, right? 0.365. This was a 0.75, so we'll take 10 thou off, 0.74. And then we'll give this was 4 inches wide. We're going from the midpoint, so we can even say 2 minus 0.01. And then this was a radius of 3. We can make that 10 thou off, right? 3 minus 0.01. You don't even have to think about it because Alibre can do the math for you. Let's do a mirror. I can select all these as items to mirror, and mirror about this center axis. Right, come on, there we go. And we're fully defined. So let's deactivate this sketch. All right, now let's make a model of the bridge, and let's do so in a way that we can get it to fit in the groove. But I actually want to loft this to give it kind of a fun shape. And of course, this is the representation of a bridge. There's a lot more components that go into it than just me making some monolithic solid part here. But I'll edit my sketch. And we took 10 thou off to make sure that we fit. Let's go minus 0.1 now, right? So we've made this substantially shorter. We're going to deactivate the sketch. So we have an extra 0.1 to play with. I'm going to create another plane over here. And we'll say distance 0.1, and I can reverse it. There we go. So we have a plane that's offset by 0.1. That's where we kind of make up our change. And I'm going to activate a 2D sketch. And let's do a similar thing. I'm going to, there we go, kind of make a similar profile, except you know what? We probably want to be flat across the top. Yeah, that's going to be good. I'll just choose a vertical here to there. Looks like we've had that, and there to there. I also, for reference, in case I want to have, a master sketch update, can import a reference figure from here with maintained association, and we'll add a vertical constraint, and that way, if our sketch changes dimension, this will update with it. So we should have a pretty consistent bridge. Next, I want all that work, but I realized I need to have 2 lines instead of just 1. So we'll grab a horizontal, we'll grab a vertical relation, grab a dimension, we'll say something small like 0.01. And then how tall do we want this to be? How about nothing more than 0.4 and see how that goes? We'll come over here, 0.375. Well, that's still kind of big. 0.125. That looks bridge-ish, I guess. We'll go to our dimension, and 0.65 is okay with me. Let's highlight everything in a mirror and mirror that across, and we've got a fully defined sketch. Okay, so I'm going to do a little loft on this bridge. We're going to go loft from here to here. I want to specify tangent on both. This magnitude might be a little bit big. Indeed, it is big because it didn't even loft. That means we need to change our magnitude. I'm going to go to 1/10 of the magnitude of 0.1. And there we have the beginnings of our loft, right? So nonetheless, I would like a little bit more substance here. And I think this is a great opportunity to go through a guide curve. So on this plane, after I delete my loft, I'm going to go sketch on the YZ, and I can project to sketch a reference figure of this arc and this line with maintained association. And of course that comes in as a point, and that comes in as a line because we're projecting them onto a 2D surface. So I can draw a vertical line and a horizontal line, and I can draw a tangent arc from there to there and add a tangent relation on the other side. I'll make sure that we have a horizontal constraint there. We'll go to a dimension and say something like 0.25. Seems reasonable, right? So this guide curve will help us out with our loft. Now you're not limited to one guide curve, so depending on how picky or not picky you are, you can add additional guide curves along these profiles with, of course, creating new planes and offsetting them and creating guide curves. And that's saying, when I say show me, that's saying that because this isn't a closed sketch, it could possibly be an error, but that's not going to be the case here. We'll go back to loft now, and we'll go from this sketch to this sketch. And instead of trying to specify normals, I'm going to say guide curves and choose my third sketch. And now we have a much more substantial curvature on the back of the bridge, which is what I was going for. So that's our bridge. I think that is going to be a good representation of what a bridge is for this project. I'm going to save this as bridge. We're going to say insert design, and I'm going to go with my bridge. We're going to choose, of course, our bottom face, new constraint to here, and that's looking really good. And then we'll add in a face over here. Not too shabby. Of course, the way that we've reduced geometry, we would normally have an offset between these two, which you can add. And that would make this edge and this edge concentric, which currently they're not, but I think they're pretty close. So at the moment we have some weird geometry, and I'm going to just move that to the middle and focus on this, wire port here. This is kind of an interesting and fun way of thinking about this. So let's edit this in a separate window. Now, in some platforms, it can be kind of easy to edit your sketch plane because you would say right-click on a sketch, edit sketch plane, specify your new plane, and then it puts the sketch on that plane. We don't have that feature in Alibre, to my understanding. So there are some other ways that we can get this done, and I think it's kind of a fun way of rolling back the tree here. We're going to come back here, and just as a quick refresher as we rebuild, we started plane 21, and that created the sketch plane there, and then plane 22 for our second loft profile, and then we created our sketches and lofted. So I'm going to roll these back to prior to where we created the planes. What I want to do is, of course, create some new planes for this face and this face to be at 30-degree angles and redo the loft. But that doesn't mean that we have to start from scratch, right? There's some easy ways to do this. Now, some platforms do have the option to right-click on a sketch, say Edit Sketch Plane, and then reassign it to new planes. In Alibre, we don't have that feature, like many other platforms don't have the feature, but we've got some other things that will work just fine. One trick that a lot of Alibre users do is to edit a sketch, copy all the components in the sketch, open a new sketch, and paste all the components into a new sketch. And that is, right, there's nothing wrong with that. Other Alibre users, especially in the Alibre forum, have mentioned to make a new sketch for every, or make a new plane rather, for every sketch. And that way every plane can be edited. So you don't need to assign a new sketch plane. You can just edit whatever plane that the sketch is on. I'm going to go with kind of another way of doing this, and that's because I'm putting these on planes that I've already made. Let's roll this back to before we made our planes. I'm going to click on my plane feature and I'll add in my axis, and then I'll clock relative to my YZ plane. I'll type in an angle of negative 30 degrees. So I've got this plane here that is negative 30 degrees. And now I'm going to step forward and look at my plane 21. Right now I can redefine this by removing the YZ plane from its original definition and adding in plane 31. Now this is looking like we need to offset it a bit more, so I'm going to say 3.5 inches. And then let's roll this forward again to plane 22. We can edit plane 22. That instead of the YZ plane, we can make it relative to the plane that we've already created. I can take this back to something like 4 inches now. Okay, now let's look at our loft. Right, so our loft is coming in just like that. And I can edit my sketch, and I want to move that over a hair because we know we're now working at an angle. Let's go to minus 1.85, right? We'll take that over here and deactivate our sketch. That kind of looks inappropriate. We'll go with edit and we'll take that down 1.85. So we're going to say minus 1.85 and we'll deactivate. And that should be an all right debossment for our cable to go in. But I think we may have affected our fillets. Let's see. Nope, looks like all of our fillets rebuilt just fine. So I think that's kind of a beautiful thing. We just did kind of a serious relocation of this, and the fillets updated without issue. So those are some tips on planes, I guess. Let's save our body. And then I'm going to open up my new assembly again. And there we have the updated body, and we have nothing that broke in our assembly, right? No broken components. So with that being said, how about we have a little fun and we assign some colors. Now, just in case anyone hasn't seen my previous work on doing colors, it's actually kind of fun and interesting. You can do it on the assembly level. We'll choose part color, right? And so the color of this part will have a high reflectivity on it. Our color will be, I don't know, a lot of guitars are black. So if we make this black, that's kind of cool. And then we also have the option to select a face, and we might actually have to do this editing the part. So I'm going to say edit here. There we go. In the part environment, we have face color, and I can assign that to a green. Now here's the thing of why I don't like doing it in the part environment, because now, I come back here and say edit part or assembly, and I've got my faces and everything, but if I just open up the part, right, the colors aren't consistent. So I like to put colors on the part level instead of any other level, right? So We'll use original part color here to reset that. And I'm just going to edit in a separate window to do all of my colors. I think that green stripe looks kind of cool. It's kind of tacky because, you know, it's just a fillet where I chose to fillet it, but I think it looks kind of cool. So we'll choose a part color. And I guess I'll go with black, which in the current lighting conditions looks a little bit more gray. And then we'll go back to face color. In fact, I can close this, and right in the tree here I have edit. We'll choose this face down here. And we're going to say OK, right? So we got these funky green stripes. I think that's kind of cool. That's really cool. And then so that's how you do colors. I'm just not going to make you sit through this anymore. Let's make this a colorful guitar. Well, looks like I just turned down the reflectivity of the body a little bit, and I think I like the color and the shade and the amount of reflection and everything coming off this, so I think that's going to be a guitar. Thank you for watching this series. I'm going to package this up, put it in GrabCAD. You can download the whole thing in the description. If this video was helpful, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.